Raider Nation, subscribe if you want the Raiders to fire Josh McDaniels. That's it. I can sit up here all I want and I can tell you, hey, I make free videos every day. Hey, we make content. We go live all the time. But if there is one thing that I know that every single Raider fan can rally behind right now, it's we got to get that clown out of Las Vegas. So if you want the silver and black to fire him, if you want Mark Davis to smarten up, click that subscribe button because I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that that dude is out of Las Vegas. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report by Chat Sports. And coming up here on the show, Josh McDaniels has lost the Raiders locker room per multiple Raiders players. So on this show, I am going to roll through a bunch of quotes from players that I have been speaking to over the past 12 to 18 hours after the Raiders' embarrassing 30-12 loss to the Chicago Bears. And I know when that game ended, I went on social media and I saw a lot of people were upset. I saw that fire Josh McDaniels was trending. I told a lot of people to go out there and boycott Raiders games until Mark Davis smartens up and fires this dude. And hopefully, Mark Davis sees this video, and hopefully, people who make decisions in the Raiders office see this video. So I'm going to ask the nation out there, I need you guys to share this as much as you possibly can, because Raiders players are done with Josh McDaniels, and I have multiple quotes to be able to prove that to you, that the locker room is out on McDaniels. So now you have a fan base that doesn't want him, and now you got players that want nothing to do with him. Every single quote that you see here will be from an anonymous player. It was the only way that I was allowed to share these quotes, and here's the other crazy part. This is not even all the quotes. I wasn't even allowed to share all of them. I had to make sure that I could share certain ones. But several quotes that you're about to see are from a bunch of different Raiders players, and I'll never tell you who they are. So the first quote coming in here on Josh McDaniels. Again, every conversation that I had was a little bit different. You kind of poke the bear. You try to get something out from certain dudes. And from this Raiders player on McDaniels, he told me this: "We did everything we could as a team, but it's been the same thing for 7 weeks now." If you want more context on this overall conversation, I was like, all right, man, obviously it was a tough football game. How would you say you guys are getting better? Because that's what I want to see. I want to see improvement, right? Like, we're 24 games into this point with Josh McDaniels, and Raiders players are just as frustrated. There is no improvement right now. But what do I hear? It's the same thing over and over and over again, not just on game days, on practice. It's the same thing, and until this team actually realizes, looks themselves in the mirror and say, you know what, it is our head coach, it is our coaching staff. But no, they're going to point the finger, they're going to blame everybody else. It's a losing mentality. Josh McDaniels is a loser. So tell me how you feel. I want you to go down and spam fire Josh McDaniels. The only reason why I am making this video is because I want the Raiders to fire Josh McDaniels. I know the Raider Nation wants the Raiders to fire Josh McDaniels. And now I know that multiple Raiders players that spoke to me want the Raiders to fire McDaniels. And guess what? If it takes an NFL player to message a dude on YouTube and tell you how they're feeling, I just want you to imagine what that locker room is like. That's how bad it is right now. I've been doing this show for a long time, man. And you think about all the drama that has gone on around this Raiders team over the past few years. This is the very first time that I've had multiple Raiders players reach out to me, and the very first time that I've been able to talk to multiple Raiders players about one topic, and they gave me an answer. Why? They're frustrated, and they want to move on from McDaniels just as bad as you do. Here's the next Raiders player quote on McDaniels. "We have too much talent to be 3-4. That's for sure." Guess what? I don't see any reason why I disagree with this. For the first time in a long time, the Raiders defense is actually decent. You have a top 20 defense. The Patrick Graham defense actually has been playing pretty damn well considering the fact of how bad the offense has been. But when you look at every single offensive metric, you spent all this money going into the offseason. Entering the regular season, the Raiders had a top 5 paid offense entering the season. Obviously, that has changed a little bit because now you have the Joe Burrow deal. Now you have the Justin Herbert deal. But think about entering March, okay? Think about entering March. The Raiders had top 5 money in free agency. You had 12 picks overall in the draft. And yes, you needed to address some of your defense. No doubt about that. In fact, I think a lot of us would have argued you should have invested more on your defense. But instead of taking that money and going and investing with Patrick Graham's defense, instead of taking care of the big problem, You decided to make your ego bigger, Josh, and say, we're going to stack this offense. That way nobody can stop us. Well, guess what? You have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So not only did you waste free agency, not only did you waste trades, not only did you waste the draft, you're wasting my time right now, and you're wasting a lot of Raiders players' times out there. Another Raider player had this to say on Josh McDaniels. It's the worst feeling on offense when the defense calls out your plays and knows what you're running. Chicago did that constantly. That is a Raiders player telling you that on Sunday against the Bears, regarded as maybe the other worst team in the NFL in terms of a coach with Matt Eberflus, other people would say probably Staley from the Chargers, but the Chicago Bears on a constant basis were calling out the plays the Raiders were going to do. Do you know why? Because anybody that watches the Raiders at any point can tell you what they're going to do. Slant, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, I'm going to try to check down here. If we get close to the 40-yard line, here comes some sort of a shitty trick play because McDaniels isn't creative enough. And it's starting to really build frustration in that locker room. I mean, you saw the frustration last week with Devontae Adams. I will tell you right now, none of the quotes that you see are from Devontae Adams because guess what? He did not comment or reply back to me. But you know what? When you see the frustration, a few weeks ago, Marcus Peters liked a tweet about firing McDaniels. Devontae Adams storms out after a Raiders win because he knows they're not living up to the expectations. Now you get blown out against the Bears, and probably over the past 24 games that McDaniels has coached, I don't even know if this is the worst game ever. Jeff Saturday against the Colts, you lost to him when he came off the couch 3 days before. You lost to Baker Mayfield 16-3 with 2 minutes left when he wasn't even a quarterback for an NFL team. You blew a 20-0 lead to the Arizona Cardinals. You blew 5 10-point leads last season. Guess what? The frustration is starting to build, and NFL players know what Josh McDaniels is going to do because of this. He does the same thing that he's always done, and he's never going to change. I got more quotes coming up here on the Raiders Report, but remember, daily fantasy sports, man. If you're a Raider fan right now, I don't know about you, Prize Picks is what brings me joy at this current spot in my life. And I think that if you could take a little bit of time away from the Raiders, you're going to have some fun here with Prize Picks, which is daily fantasy sports made easy. So, Nation, listen up. Jeremy Chuggs and I, man, we've been having the most fun that we've had, winning up to 25 times our money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and then place your entry. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. Or make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. My picks for Monday Night Football, because I got burned yesterday because I decided to trust McDaniels and the Raiders. So I'm going to go with Monday Night Football here. Give me the more on Kirk Cousins passing yards. I need him to sling it around the field a little bit, hopefully, to T.J. Hawkinson. And then I'm also going to go with Brandon Ayuk for the more. Give me more Prize Picks. And you guys can get started too. That link's going to be available to you all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. I've been playing Prize Picks for a long time, and the fact that they are a sponsor here on the Raiders Report, it is one of the biggest ways that I can sit out there and say thank you to the entire nation for helping the Raiders Report continue to grow, and let's continue to have this thing grow and have the nation's voice be heard. All right, let's go to the next quote here from an anonymous Raiders player on Josh McDaniels. Been saying it since last season. It's hard to win when you're too damn predictable. So this Raiders player in particular has been a part of this organization the entire time that Josh McDaniels has been a part of this organization. And when you think about the Raiders back in 2021, yeah, they might not have been a playoff team, but guess what? They went to the playoffs. They were 10-7 under Rich Bisaccia. Rich Bisaccia, when he was the head coach of the Raiders, was 7-5 in those games when he was an intern. But when you have a player like this, okay, who has worked with McDaniels now for 24 days in a row, or 24 games in a row, has been a part of this team for about 2 years, you're hoping that something changes, that, maybe we can mix it up a little bit. But they know it just as well as us that nothing's going to change. And it's one of the reasons here, this was not confirmed by a Raiders player, but I can read between the lines. One of the reasons right now that Hunter Renfrow is frustrated as what he is because he's not the only one. There's a bunch of players in that locker room that feel like no matter what I do, I'm not going to be used. No matter what I do, no matter how hard I practice, no matter how well I play in the game, McDaniels is going to do what McDaniels does, and he's always going to put his guys above everyone else. Jimmy Garoppolo is a perfect example of that. You sign a QB when you know he's not very good. You start Brian Hoyer over an Aiden O'Connell because you know he's your guy. You keep Brandon Bolden on the roster even though he adds absolutely nothing to this team. I don't even know if he's played this season, and I watch every game. You could have cut him and saved 2-point-something million. The Josh McDaniels regime plays their players, and they play favorites. It does not sit well in the Raiders locker room, especially when you're losing, and especially when you're as bad as what this team has been with Josh McDaniels as a head coach. Let's go to this next one here. They've been running the same shit for 20 years now, and they're too hard-headed to change. That's why we lose. I will admit this. I replied to this comment, and I asked, are you referring to Mark Davis and the Raiders or Josh McDaniels and the Patriot way? I did not get a response. So they can be referring to Mark Davis. They can be referring to how bad this Raiders organization has been over the past 20 years, which we can all agree. And I do think that I can sit up here all I want and yell, fire Josh McDaniels, but I also can say that Mark Davis is obviously extremely responsible considering the fact that he's never been able to get the right people in his job. And I don't need Josh McDaniels, or I don't need Mark Davis to know football. I need him to hire the right people to make the right decisions. But also, if they're talking about the Patriot way, yeah, the Patriot way has done the exact same thing over and over and over again. And when it hasn't had Tom Brady, it hasn't gotten any results. So this is the next part of this conversation I was having with a player. I look at him and I go, hey, bro, enjoy your day off. I want you to take some time with your family. And the next time that I'm in Las Vegas, let's get together and let's talk. This is what this player said to me. This is mind-blowing. Sounds good to me. And we have to go and watch film and listen to the coaches blame us again for the loss. So after that, I'll be good. That is a Raiders player telling you that he honestly, he added a few other things in there that I wasn't allowed to put. But essentially, he's not the only Raiders player that feels like they're wasting their time, for one, going in on a Monday and having this coaching staff yell at them. But then also, you hear it there, that they're just going to sit up there, they're going to blame us, they're going to point the finger, and that's what they do. It's starting to get really sick and tired for a lot of Raiders players out there. And then, this was another very good quote from a Raiders player that this is the one where I'll tell y'all, you guys like this guy a lot. Our offense is too old school and not up to date if you watch the best offenses in the NFL like the 49ers and the Eagles and the Dolphins. They all use the entire field and they use every player they have are creative AF, not like us. They have fun playing football. For us, it's a job. That last part I thought was kind of wild because they said, it's a job. And I get it's a job, but at the end of the day, you want to enjoy what you do. And there's a lot of Raiders players right now that aren't enjoying playing in the NFL. They're not enjoying playing for the Las Vegas Raiders, and how can you blame them? The offense right now is absolutely disgraceful. Josh McDaniels continues to show you that he has no idea what he's doing. So the total yards per game, 27th. Rushing yards, last. Giveaways, you're dead last there. Points, 30th. There is nothing good about this Raiders offense, and players are sick and tired of it. And I don't know because they can't come out and say it, because obviously that's a bad look. But the fact that multiple Raiders players gave me these quotes just goes to show you how frustrated it is. And again, I'm a big believer where there's smoke, there's fire. And you got Raiders captains liking posts about wanting to fire McDaniels. Then you got a cool, calm guy like Devontae Adams, mad after a win, tells you that, he's wins and losses here and there, but he's trying to win some greatness. Well, guess what? I'm trying to do the exact same thing here. I'm trying to spread the word because Mark Davis, people that make decisions, need to be able to get this message out there. Raiders players don't want Josh McDaniels. Raider Nation does not want Josh McDaniels. So here's your job. I get it. Not everybody has a YouTube channel. I totally get you. Not everybody has a lot of Twitter followers, has a lot of Instagram followers. Some of y'all don't even probably have social media. But you know what we all have? Y'all have a cell phone. Text this video to a Raider fan. Say share it. Click the share icon on Twitter, post it out there, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, any spot that you can share this video because people need to see that even Raiders players do not want Josh McDaniels. So here's how I'm going to end this show right now. Mark Davis, this message is to you and to you only because at the end of the day, you're the only one that can make this happen. It's time for you to smarten up. Raiders players, Raider Nation, want you to fire Josh McDaniels. It's a simple ask. It's been 24 games. The Raiders have not gotten better. In fact, every single person that's got an ounce of a brain would make the argument they have got considerably worse. And if you cared about your father's legacy, if you cared about the Shield, if you cared about what Raider Nation truly embodies and commitment to excellence, you would fire Josh McDaniels, not tomorrow, not in a few hours. You would fire him right now.